Welcome to Spilling the Tea podcast with your host, me, Laila Safaee. Today I'm excited to introduce to you Leanne Matthews, founder of one of the most successful and innovative inventory companies in the UK. I've invited her on my podcast not only because I find her journey fascinating. Leanne is the definition of no matter your start in life, you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. She's a mum of three and completely self-made as a businesswoman with a very interesting story. Now, let's go and spill the tea with Leanne. And here she is, Leanne. Welcome to Spilling the Tea with me.
Hi Laila, how are you? You okay?
I'm good.
Thanks for inviting me down.
I'm so grateful you've joined me today because I do think that with what you do, in inventories, your main predominant company, like no one thinks of like inventory businesses, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. As a letting agent, you're a hugely pivotal part of like what we do in our day-to-day and with landlords. But I feel like so many more people need to know about what you do because
it's not a very exciting business. So I guess that means that people aren't that interested in what we do, but what we do actually supports landlords and tenants and, helps them go about their business without and sort of limit disputes. So
100%, you are a crucial part of what we do. And I really wanted you to jump on the podcast today so I could introduce you to everyone listening, because as a company, we've worked with you for, since conception, so nearly 8 years. But in my career in lettings, I've worked with you for nearly 15 years. So I know exactly how pivotal you are as part of the processes. And you're a very interesting woman, I've discovered along the way.
I try to sort of fly under the radar a little bit and just do the job that needs to be done. And like you say, we've worked with you for such a long time now. I mean, we've had our ups and downs over the years, haven't we, Laila? Definitely had our ups and downs, more ups, I would say. And that's just sort of on a personal level. I think, I've really enjoyed working with you for the last 15 years. From a professional level, also very much enjoyed working with your company and your team, because working with quality letting agents definitely assists us with doing our work too. So it's been a long time, but it's been an enjoyable time.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel the same. And without a good inventory company working as part of the cogs in the bigger picture, I think the processes wouldn't go as smoothly ever. Your story as an entrepreneur is incredible, and hopefully you don't mind sharing a little bit about let's go back to the beginning. Like, where are you from, Leanne?
I'm from the Midlands, less the Brummy accent. There's no Brummy accent here. So I'm from Coventry, which is just outside of Birmingham. I grew up in inner city Coventry, moved to Bournemouth in 2006 for personal reasons. I was pregnant at the time with my daughter, and I've got 2 older children as well. Relocated to the South Coast in 2006. And it's been an interesting ride along the way, definitely.
So what brought you to Bournemouth?
Bit of a roll of the dice, actually. No specific reason brought me to Bournemouth. I think there was lots of reasons why I left Coventry. But not many reasons why I came to Bournemouth, but actually being by the sea is, and around a beautiful area has been fantastic. Probably the best move that I've ever made in my life, and best decision that I've ever made in my life.
So you had no experience of the area?
None whatsoever. I came here on holiday as a child once or twice. Didn't know the area, came down on a train, cases in hand.
With the kids?
With the kids, pregnant,
Wow.
Ready to start a new life. Very little money in the bank. A bit wild at 26. That was quite some time.
Were you 26?
I was 26 years old, yeah.
Wow.
So that was quite a long time ago now. Moved to Wick Village, which is the other side of Bournemouth, on the Christchurch border. Rented a property there. Like I say, I was pregnant at the time. Needed to find work, so ended up picking up 2 jobs, one at the airport and one as a waitress in Westbourne, and just worked to pay the bills. And that's what brought me to the area originally. And then had my daughter, And then I got a job in a late night entertainment venue in Christchurch.
Lovely.
I ended up working as a manageress for there for many years, and that's where I learnt about business.
Really?
Yeah, in the bar, in a working bar, learning about what customers want from businesses and how they want to.
Was that because you were mingling with like the patrons and
in terms of my learning for business?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I had a pretty good mentor at the time who'd been in business for, the owner had been in business for quite some time. So I learned a bit of him.
Yeah.
I learned a bit of other business owners that were selling products to the business, and I picked their brains. And then I just generally got a really good understanding about the nuts and bolts and how a business works, and found it really fascinating, actually. And it opened my eyes, because where I came from, and I'm not saying that's true for all people that have grown up in a city, Coventry, but people don't have their own businesses. That was the background that I came from. You went to work and you came home, and that was your life. People didn't tend to have their own businesses. So it was something that definitely opened my eyes quite quickly to, you can have a product, you can sell it, you can work for yourself, and if you work hard, you can do quite well. And I was sort of given the opportunity to go and do that, and almost had my own bar to run. So, and I learnt along the way, and that's what sort of, opened my eyes to what the possibilities could be, but also taught me about, buy something for 10p, sell it for 15p, the bit in the middle is your profit.
Yeah.
And they're the little baby steps that you have to sort of understand of how business works, and that's where it all began, really.
So it wasn't an overnight, wow, I've just met these business people. This was progressive during your career in hospitality.
Yeah, I worked there for 4 years. It was late nights, it was hard work. It was about, how can we get these customers to come back? What can we do to improve their experience? What can we give them in terms of our product and make it better? And that's what I worked hard at, trying to deliver a really good customer experience. And in the end, people kept coming back. And I think you can apply that principle to all manner of businesses, not just hospitality, not just inventories. You need to look at your product, what you can do to improve it, how you can offer good customer service. And that's what I started to learn, from the ground up. And there was business people that came into the bar that I spoke to, quite a lot of local business people from the Bournemouth area. And I was interested in their stories and their lives and how...
Give them a few drinks,
well,
spill the beans.
I mean, Kirsty, my hairdresser, she'll be able to vouch for the fact that she might have got a few drinks for doing my hair here and there. So, there's people that used to come in, and I would, absolutely pick their brains. What did they do? How did they do it? Where did they come from?
That's how you meet people, isn't it? That's how you learn from, like, having those opportunities to speak to people. And my experience of you over the last 15 years, where we do socialise and we put work to the side, you are a great networker. You really are great, but not in a salesy way, in a really lovely way. We recently went to Glastonbury together, didn't we? We were invited.
Yes, we did.
And I'm a terrible networker, honestly, terrible. But I was so pleased I had you there with me, because we got to meet some really cool, wonderful people. Yeah. I'm not saying that I'm not a people person. I am.
No, you absolutely are.
I find it really difficult.
To ice break.
Yeah, to differentiate between professionalism. I think that's maybe my ADHD, but the professionalism, like I can't find that in between, like especially if there's drinks involved, and that was quite a casual, relaxed setting. Obviously, I make my way around slowly, but I thought I call you my little dynamite. You're just brilliant. Like no one would know, but you've just like worked the room and you've like met the most wonderful, interesting people. And then we'd come back together and you'd be like, oh, I just met so-and-so. And guess what? She's got a wonderful business. Da-da-da.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that probably comes naturally to me. I mean, if you speak to my parents, they'll say I was a real chatterbox as a kid. It's something that I've reeled in a little bit as I've got older, actually, because I think I was probably too open and too friendly for many years of my life. And that probably, you can get hurt being like that. But yeah, it is. I enjoy people. I enjoy speaking to people. I enjoy listening to people's stories. I'm a little bit nosy, if all told. So I do enjoy listening to other people's stories, and I think you can learn so much from from everybody, no matter what walk of life they've come from, and you know, take little bits from everybody, especially those that have done well, and even those that have done not so well, and try and understand where they've come from, what their background is, and see if you can implement a little bit of that into your life. And I think every day I get out of bed, every day I try and be a better person. And that sounds really cheesy, but it's actually the truth. I make loads and loads of mistakes, and I always try not to make the same mistake twice.
Don't we all? We all make mistakes, but like you say, it's growth, it's reflecting and seeing how you can look inward and keep improving in business and personal.
Yeah, I mean, my humour needs some work, Laila. I mean, let's face it, probably the jokes need a little bit of work, you know? But we did get to find out what was in people's picnic boxes, didn't we?
Oh my goodness. I am going to actually make a video to share with everyone, just a glimmer of what we were doing. You tell the story.
Well, unfortunately for us, there was no sparkling wine in our VIP tent, was there, whatsoever? So we had to go and seek some out in the festival.
Hang on, you're forgetting something crucial. We landed at Glastonbury.
Oh yeah, we were at Glastonbury at the time.
And we were in the queue to get into the Glastonbury extravaganza, and everyone had these really sexy looking picnic baskets. Like they just not grabbed these from Tesco and just chucked anything in like I would do. These were like proper prep, weren't they? Didn't it start there? We asked that gentleman.
We were in the queue on the way in. We felt a bit left out because we didn't have a picnic box.
I was a bit hungry.
And I think we were working out how we could pimp ours out actually with vinyl wraps and things, if I remember correctly. Yeah. There was something along those lines. So yeah, and it did make us a bit hungry. There was a guy in front of us who had homemade Scotch eggs.
Well, that's it.
That was in the queue.
Yeah, I'd clearly had a couple of drinks and I had confidence, and I think I might have approached him and said, "Excuse me, do you mind me asking what's in your picnic basket?" He said, "Well, my wife has made me homemade sausage rolls and Scotch eggs." And I was like, oh, what an absolute legend. Did you take it from there? Yeah,
we did. Well, I think so, actually. I think that's probably where it came from. And
then there was no sparkling wine in the tent. So we make our way to the tent. And they're very generous, and there's lots of everything except sparkling wine.
Yeah, so we decided to take a little walk, get a little Dora the Explorer rucksack, and on we go. Battling our way through, was it 10,000 people? I think it might be.
Yeah, 10,000 people. It was a sold out event.
Yeah, and we just bumped into some really nice people, and I just couldn't help but ask them what was in their picnic box.
You weren't really bumping in, Leanne. You were like 10 steps ahead of me. I'm tottling behind. And all of a sudden you start chatting to random people. I'm like, what are you doing? And then you come back and show me like kombucha and like
rhubarb gin.
Rhubarb gin. Look, this is the best thing that they've got. So this game just started with no like pre-talk about what was going on. So at first I was like, has she lost the plot? But then people were so welcoming and kind and friendly and actually loved it.
Yeah, I'm not sure who they thought we were. I mean, we were sort of approaching people, and it became a little bit, like you say, a game in the end. And people were almost excited to show us what they had in their boxes.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely share some footage of this, because not once did... I sort of got into it after you approached at least 2 people. I then was like, do you know what? This is quite funny. And actually, I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, it was good fun.
What was the best thing that you discovered in the picnic baskets?
Do you know what? It was just an array of delightful food and alcohol. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it ranged from a can of Stella, like I say, up to the rhubarb gin and the Scotch eggs. So there was nothing, you know, completely, you know, not that we'd want to be seeing in somebody's picnic box, if you know what I mean. It all rightly should have been in there, but it was just quite interesting. I think people quite enjoyed.
I think they thought there were secret cameras.
Or they were going to win a prize or something.
Yeah. This is what I mean. You're brilliant. You need to be a presenter with your own TV show.
I don't know. I had a challenge.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, no, that was good fun. But yeah, I mean, that all links back, you know, just having the confidence to go and speak to people. And I mean, it sounds all rather silly, and people watching must think we're absolutely bonkers, but it was good fun. And
harmless.
And harmless as well. Absolutely.
Nobody was harmed in the pretend
in the process. There's no Scotch eggs harmed whatsoever. Just
a lot of fun had.
Yeah, absolutely. But it just all links back really, just being able to speak to people, you know, either on a social level or in a business level is, I mean, I don't like to call it networking because it sounds like such a cold word. It really does. And it sounds like you're in it for gain. But actually, you're just interested in other people.
Do you know what? That's why I think I love people. I really enjoyed that event. I really enjoy socialising with people, but you've hit the nail on the head. For some reason, I grimace at the thought of networking because I don't interact with people for gain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's got to be an authentic
interaction. Yeah.
But I love the way you do it with so much confidence. I need to work on it.
Yeah, and actually, I'm not a hugely confident person, as you're aware. You know, things like this make me very nervous. You know, given a week to prepare.
With me?
Yeah, well, just being behind a camera and stuff. You know, it's not. You know, it's. I've always tried to be a little bit low key myself and not put myself in front of the camera. And it's something that probably I need to do a little bit more of, but I don't do it because yeah, I just like to keep my own little life to myself, really. But in terms of speaking to people one-on-one, I've got no qualms about doing that whatsoever. I really enjoy speaking to people. I love it. And it is something that I have, reflecting now, probably built the business on.
I have a lot of younger aspiring entrepreneurs reaching out to us and asking for hints and tips on how to get into the industry and, you know, asking for advice on how to get their foot through the door, you know, in an independent or corporate agents, etc. One thing I always say to them is, have you got any hospitality or retail experience? And they always say, well, no. And that's one thing that I always recommend to younger people that want to get into business or specifically into agency. Get a part-time job in a retail company, a Saturday job. It forces you into interactions with people. I personally have never worked in hospitality, but that's a regret of mine. But equally, I think, the skill sets that I've got that help my business from working in retail. The reason I bring that up is obviously you've got hospitality experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything where you're interacting with people, lots of different types of people from all walks of background, it can only be beneficial into any career stepping forwards, particularly in property, which is a people business. I think if you're of the mind, you'll be successful in business anyway, or you'll be successful in property. But if you want to get more confidence around people and individuals, then definitely hospitality, retail, any customer-facing business experience is going to be very, very beneficial.
So you had 4 years experience running the bar in Christchurch.
Yeah.
When did inventories come into this, and what sparked that business idea for you?
Okay, so the bar closed down for numerous reasons, through no fault of my own, and the owner decided that they no longer, you know, wanted to sort of continue. I wasn't in a position to continue either. I actually found the late nights quite hard work with young children. So I came out, and then I just had to sort of have a little reflect about what it was that I wanted to do. I needed to make decisions quickly as well. I knew that I wanted to work for myself, not work with anybody else. I dabbled in a couple of ideas. There was an ice cream van involved somewhere along the way. But in terms of the inventory side, I think I just came across some business ideas online, and that was one that popped up. So I looked at it, and then I looked at what inventory companies were producing. This was all in one evening. And quite quickly, I realised that there was quite a lot of things that I could do to improve the customer experience of an inventory report, which sounds crazy, but I took one look at it. They were all on Word documents, it seemed. They were all quite wordy. They very much lacked photographs. And this was something that came to me sort of overnight. And back in 2011, you know, all inventory reports were a printed Word document that were given to a tenant at the start of a tenancy. And I just looked at that and thought, I can do better than this for people. Now, my heart and burning desire wasn't in inventory services. It was in improving products, I think. So I looked at it and thought, I can do better than this. What if you could get that document online? What if you could, you know, improve the number of photographs that were in that report. So I spent not a huge amount of time thinking about it. I reached out to a couple of letting agents. Now, bearing in mind, I haven't got any background in property whatsoever at all. But I knew that the letting agents were going to be sort of your stakeholders. They're the people that are going to be your clients in the future. So I just had a hunch that what they were getting was pretty dull, pretty boring, and there's something that could have been done better. So I called a few, just cold called them and said, who's your inventory provider? How do they do it? How does it work? What do you like? What don't you like? I mean, I got the phone put down on me lots of times. But I worked for a list and you know, just made a few calls. And at that point I thought, do you know what, actually I'm right. You know, no one's really excited about them for a start. There's a lot of things that they don't like, the fact that they're wordy, they're long-winded, and I think there's something I can do here. So I'm not very technological at all, not really. But I sort of knew that there must be something better we could do. So I had to look at an inventory report and I thought, right, well, we can easily create one of those in Word. But how can we get it to the client so that they're not printing reams and reams of paper off? Well, I did find a couple of websites online where you could download documents from, DocuSign being one of them. And I thought, well, I can't just give the clients DocuSign, they can get that anyway. So I thought I need my own website, but I couldn't afford one really at that time. Back then, there wasn't any website builders, not really. Not a website builder that you could go on like Wix, that kind of stuff. So I decided to have a look at a content management site called Joomla, and then just delved in and decided to teach myself how to use it.
So let me get this right. You basically Googled business ideas, stumbled across inventories, and thought, this isn't being done very well. I think I've got the skill set to improve this.
Yeah, absolutely. What I didn't have at that time was the money to fund my idea. But I did a pretty good job of getting the idea over the line on no money whatsoever. So I taught myself Joomla, created my own website, then created some add-ons for it, or not created them, installed some add-ons that existed within Joomla that would then enable clients to be able to download the reports directly from the website and forward them onto their tenants and landlords, which I think at the time was pretty revolutionary. I mean, all the inventory companies do it now, but I don't think there was anyone doing it when I was doing it back then. And this is what I said, I didn't have the money to create a bit of software, but I sort of knew how it should work. So I had this website, and then I had the content management site, and then I integrated DocuSign on the back end. And then all of a sudden, I had this fully functioning, working online inventory system that I'd sort of pieced and patched together. Over and above that, I spoke to my dad. He was quite good on computers, and said, I need to be able to put all these photographs in a report quite quickly. And he said, oh, leave it with me. And he came back with a macro, which is like a small program which runs on Word. So that was something else I added on. So all of a sudden I can create an online report and get photographs into a report quite quickly. I thought this is going to be quite good. The following week, there was a business show at FC Bournemouth. So I designed some posters, sent them off, got these posters, and then stood there in front of all of these different people.
So at this point, you have no clients. Have you made a logo? Have you decided on your business name?
I did a logo. Yeah, I did a logo. Did that up, threw it together. Can't remember. Oh, I did it in Photoshop. Because back then you didn't have Canva. So I did it in Photoshop, which very simple sort of house logo.
So you came up with your business name, no clients at this point, cold calls hadn't generated any clients, and you're signing up to a business show.
Yeah.
Okay.
So turns up, I had two of those pop-up banners. I had a suit on at the time, which I never wear a suit. I don't know why I put that on. Sometimes I've got a photo of me in it. I'll have to send it to you. I look terrible. I look like
you didn't.
Oh, I do. I probably couldn't afford the right suit, so it was like one of those ones that was like 25 times too big for you. I probably bought it at a charity shop or something. I don't know. And so yes, I turned up, and then there was estate agents there that are my current clients now, and I remember them clearly. And people came over and they were like, what can you do? So I explained that I could make inventories quicker. I'd not even done an inventory report. Well, I had, but only in my own house. And I'd sort of patched it together, and I wasn't completely sure what I was doing, but I'd never done a proper one.
No. How long did it take you to do an inventory of your house with no experience?
So I didn't really do a full one on my house, but I did pick up a landlord at that show, and they gave me a 5-bed student inventory to do.
Wow.
Which they paid me for on the day in cash, which is unheard of, isn't it? And I turned up the next day. It took me 5 hours on site.
Okay.
And then probably 12 hours to type it.
So 17 hours in total, basically on that inventory.
Yeah.
The same inventory now, how long would that take you?
40 minutes, max, start to finish.
Do you know what? I find that segment of your story really inspirational. You've been ballsy. You've turned up at
A show. It's too big for me.
And sorry if I cut you off there. You were saying like you didn't have a clue what you were doing. You just chatted to people.
Yeah.
And generated your first client.
Yeah, and a letting agent who are still with me to this day, actually.
That's incredible.
So
I love this.
Yeah, so that was quite interesting. I remember feeling very excited at the time, and nervous. I mean, and going I'd never been into somebody's house before where as a contractor, so there was all of that. Obviously I've been in people's houses, but going in and carrying out work for them's a very, very different animal, isn't it? So I went to, obviously going into this lady's house and doing an inventory and then not getting a complaint at the end of it was quite an achievement. But I don't know whether she ever used us again. I'm unsure, and I don't actually remember her name or if we ever reached out to her. But off the back of that, it sort of built my confidence. And I took some flyers out a couple of weeks later. Within 6 weeks, I had 5 clients, 5 letting agents.
Amazing. And it's just you at this point. It's just you working for yourself.
Yeah, I was working for myself, trying to find work that fit around family life. I was a single parent, so
how did you juggle that?
Do you know what? 10 and 12-hour days around kids, pretty much. Didn't take a holiday for 5 or 6 years. Just worked. I just worked really hard to make sure that I could, put food on the table. And that's ultimately what it's about. It's about providing for your family. And so not only, I wanted to work for myself because I think that gave you the flexibility that you needed to have a family life. I was at every sports day. So I was very lucky in that respect that I could fit my hours around family. I mean, there's many summer holidays where all of my children are in the back of the car whilst I'm trundling around houses. I mean, they're grown up now. I mean, one's 24, one's 21 and one's 18. But, when they were young, they were in the back of the car while I was, doing inventory reports and stuff. So, but yeah, so you would have seen me trundling. And I think the children must have come in when you were working, actually. But it did fit in terms of family life. Yeah, it worked. I mean, if
you made it work.
Yeah, you have to. And, I wanted to carve out a better life for my family and going back and working for somebody else, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, just wasn't an option for me. I needed flexibility and I wanted a better life for my family. And that's what I wanted. So
that's always been your driving force.
Absolutely. That and a handful, can I swear at this point?
Yeah, I'll just bleep it out.
Yeah, a handful of dickheads that you keep in your memory banks that probably don't want you to do very well. So they're a bit of a driving force as well. Everybody that's ever mean to me is a driving force for me to be successful.
Oh, I've got a few in my handbag of doom.
Yeah, have you? Yeah. And they're great, aren't they? Every time you need a bit of motivation, just look at somebody that's been mean to you.
They make sure you're out of bed at 5 a.m.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, they're not the primary motivation. I would say they're very much secondary. The primary motivation is the children. And even today, even though they've grown up, I look behind me and you almost have got a ravine behind you. So you're scrambling to stay out of the ravine. And that's what motivates me every day.
I don't think you ever lose that, do you? It doesn't matter where you get. So in perspective, that was you, or, back then on your own, building it around your family life. You now sit here with one of the most enviable positions, in my opinion, that you can run your business of 20 employees from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I do have to be around. I mean, particularly this time of year, it's very, very busy for us. I mean, I don't even know how many properties we've been to this month. I probably should know. But, this time of year, we can be going to 600 houses. So I do need to be around a little bit just to make sure that, and on the ground and making sure clients are happy this time of year. But the remainder of the year, yes, I've got a really, really good team that go out and carry out a lot of the work and feed back to me. And I still work, even if I'm working remotely.
I can speak firsthand as one of your clients and your friend. You have always been contactable for me, even when you have been working remotely or on the other side of the world or in the Caribbean or wherever you are. That hasn't ever changed. So it doesn't affect your business. But I think the point I was getting at is, look how far you've come. Do you ever look back and think?
Do you know, actually, you sent me a couple of notes yesterday or the day before. And I think one of them was in relation to sort of the challenges. And do you know what? That's probably the first time where I've gone, actually, I'm doing all right. Because the challenges are different. The challenges when the business was new, up to 5 years old, was time. No time with the children, working really hard, can't take holidays. It's hard to do that year in, year out. I mean, I've done inventories on Christmas Day. You know, in years gone by, I've done them right up till Christmas Eve. I've worked Sundays. You know, I've done everything that humanly possible to put the business first and everything else second. And that's actually not the challenge anymore. It's a whole new set of challenges that sort of become, you know, present themselves as your business grows. Probably more, you know, sort of marketing challenges, financial challenges, that kind of thing. But yeah, that was some. I did think at that point, actually, you know what? I've done all right to get us this far. I've done okay.
You should be really proud. I think your story is really inspirational, and I do feel like people listening are really going to take quite a lot from what you've shared with us even thus far. It is really inspiring, and you've managed to get it to this position. I mean, not many people grow a business from having zero experience to having 20 members of staff.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, you know, it's not a business where we've borrowed. You know, all the money's just been reinvested back in all the time. And I'm quite proud of that as well, that I've managed to, there's been some real challenges with clients not paying and things like that. But I've always managed to keep the business afloat, and that I'm really proud of as well.
I mean, cash flow is a business's biggest enemy.
For everybody.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So, I mean, so we're doing quite well. I mean, COVID was another turning point though, I would say. If I was to do another mark, I mean, I had taken on inventory clerks prior to COVID. I had a couple of great girls actually, that carried out some work for me. But COVID was a pause button for the business. And it enabled me to take the business, have a look at it, see where the problems were, look to the future, put it back together, fix the problems and stick it back on the road. And that propelled us forward again. That was our next stage of growth, really. We changed all the software. We improved so much, and we had the time and the headspace to be able to do that. It was scary because we had no money actually, but what we did have was time, and we used that time wisely, and that's paid off hugely. We've now got a business that can facilitate in even more clients just through doing that, and we've got plans to do more in the future. But that was another part of our growth came through some unfortunate, you know, situation in the world.
I really like that story. I love that part of your story, that you utilised that time. And from speaking to other people, do you find that was a general consensus, not just in inventory companies?
Yeah.
I know it was for me, other than it being an extremely terrifying time for all of us, not knowing.
I think, you know, when Boris did his speech, I think every business owner in the country went, oh, fuck, didn't they? Every one of us.
Yeah.
And selfishly, we all went, what does this mean for me? I think that's everybody's first reaction, isn't it? And I was petrified. I don't know how you must have felt at that time, but I'd worked really hard to build a business, and some disease has completely wiped it out overnight. That's what it felt like at the time.
It felt a bit like an apocalypse, if I'm using the right terminology here. That's how it felt. It was just eerie and confusing. I mean, similarly to you, we were so lucky that during that time, the properties that we had on our books were all vacant. Now, there was a way of completing our processes as long as no one came into contact. And obviously we could do most things digitally, including right to rent checks. People had to move. There were people from, doctors, nurses moving down from all over the country. Moves had to happen. And we were so lucky that we could not avoid breaking the law, follow the guidance, but make these moves still possible. And that was when Matterport technology, funnily enough, we don't actually use that right now in our business for security reasons, to protect our clients. But actually, during that time, there was an opportunity where I invested in Matterport technology to enable people to virtually walk through the property without having to physically attend. And obviously, having known the properties, I could talk them through over the phone, etc. All our deals, I want to say we had at least 8 to 10 vacant properties, which was a blessing. And all of them let during that period. And we managed to move people safely with minimal interaction. I'm sure you still did inventories.
Yeah, we still did inventories.
Because it was vacant. So as long as we were...
Yeah, absolutely. We were very blessed that some inventory companies didn't want to do inventories at that time. So we actually picked up a couple of clients just by default of us happy to do them, or myself happy to do them at that time. So we picked up some extra clients, which was really good. We didn't have, so our business very much relies on a report. We don't have any other income, or didn't have at that time. So everything here is you get paid for the report. So in terms of the numbers of jobs that we were doing, it was it was sort of 10% of what we would normally be doing. But we did pick up other clients. So when actually things returned to normal, we'd got this brand new system, brand new software, and we'd got extra clients as well. So it sort of springboarded us into a little bit more success. So although it was really difficult for us during that time, I think the springboard that it gave us, I'm very grateful for.
Definitely.
So
I must say, over the period of time that I've known you and seeing the growth of the business, it's really impressive how it's developed. And you always take feedback on the chin. You don't get phased by feedback. In fact, all feedback, correct me if I'm wrong, you really welcome it to help you develop your software. That's one thing, and I've tried in the instances historically where you have had a smaller team and you've not been able to accommodate a last minute report, which is rare. I've had to use other companies, and which is a good thing actually, because then you get to experience other people, how they work, what their customer service is like, that kind of thing. And even in the very minimal instances where we have had to sit down and have a chat or navigate our way out of a problematic situation that may have occurred due to admin, etc., hands down, I'm not just saying it, your company is an all-rounder. I think the reports are aesthetically pleasing to the eye, and that's really important for me, just with the way that my brain works. Which if it's aesthetically pleasing to me, then I know that my clients, whether they're tenants or landlords, are going to be able to understand. They're detailed, very detailed. And the process works, the system works. Your team have bespoked themselves around our business.
We do. So what makes us unique? I would say we are one of the largest sole business independent inventory companies in the country. So you've got a lot of franchises that I would say would be larger than us, but I wouldn't say there's too many companies that are larger than us that are just sole businesses. And obviously scaling a business is really difficult because you've got to find the consistency so that clients like yourself, with your high standards, are happy. And how we've done that is we've developed our own training program that's ongoing. Level 1, level 2 and level 3 in inventory services. It's not accredited as yet. It doesn't need to be. It works for us. We've got our own team, and all of our clerks go through the level 1 to 3, which takes them around 6 months.
You developed that
Yeah, I mean, it's got its roots in Arla Property Mark. So
you are also a member, as am I.
Yeah, so it's got its roots in that. The course that they offer is very good in terms of underpinning the knowledge for inventory services. What it doesn't offer is the tools and skills that you need to be an inventory clerk. So we've sort of taken some of the data from their course. I've not stolen it, by the way. It's just, you know, we've used the information that's been provided to us, and then we've adapted it and expanded that course so that we can now offer our clerks a really, really good training program. And then once they've done level 1, level 2 and level 3, the CPD all the way through, and it's continued. So if Silver Birch, for instance, would like any changes or anything different, then we can adapt that, add it to our training program and make sure that our clerks are aware. So we try and stay on top of the training at all times. That's really important to us.
I think that's really impressive. And have you got good feedback from your team?
Yeah, so it was very much a work in progress. I mean, we used an AI teacher for a while, which actually worked quite well. And
you were pitching this to me?
Yeah, I know. And we still use elements of her, but the delivery's very much improved. I mean, I'm not a teacher, but I've learned to teach and relay information on what works, and you know how to engage people so that they understand what you're trying to say, and it's not boring. You're not talking at them. So yeah, I think with feedback from our clerks, with looking at the final reports that are outputted after the training, then I've managed to change the training slightly and adapt it. Like we now do level 1 over a longer period of time because it was quite condensed, and I won't bore you with the ins and outs of it. But yeah, I mean, the feedback from them has enabled us to improve, and it's constantly evolving all the time. And I think we're one of the few inventory companies, I think, that offer a real long-term solution to training their clerks. I think a lot, they get chucked out on the road fairly quickly with very minimal training and learn on the way.
Well, on that point, it's absolutely imperative to have a thorough inventory as part of your process. Having a team like yours that are really personable, you tend to allocate your clerks where possible to build rapport with the agents. It's made my life as an agent so much easier. You know, you give the training, you gave the training and ongoing training if anything changes to your system. And I think I'd get major anxiety if your company was no longer here, because I have tried and tested, with no disrespect, numerous, as we mentioned, other clerks to make sure that, you know, there is a backup plan. We don't need that anymore, especially with the team the size it is. But honestly, I couldn't cope.
Yeah,
I just know if there's a problem, I could just pick up the phone. If you didn't answer immediately, I just know someone would pick up that support.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the office is manned, which is an all day, every day. There's somebody sat at the other end of the office phone every day of the week. We've got our online messaging system, which means you can interact about a specific property or a specific inspection directly with the main office and the clerk, and they'll come back to you. So our communication, I would say, is pretty efficient, which enables you as the letting agent to just get on with your day. I mean, the other thing that we do differently is the way that we help you with your property management. So our action reports and our checkouts make your property manager, such as Georgie, it should make her life a lot easier because it collates information for her. So she can see what needs cleaning, what needs maintenance, what may need some gardening, and she can see all that quite quickly without having to scroll through reports. So there's lots of things that you've given feedback on, and our other clients that we've gone away, thought about and tried to implement to make your life easier as well.
I appreciate that.
That's okay. Always happy to help.
Yeah, I do always, I think I've already said this, but I'm going to repeat it because it's really important. You know, going back to what you said originally, it would just be like a Microsoft Word document with a couple of images sprinkled on. There are still landlords out there, and probably even letting agents somewhere, that do think that is acceptable. But I mean, just by having a thorough document, you do get the level of respect from landlords and tenants equally to know the expectations at the end of a sort of checkout. I mean, lettings is quite unsexy generally, is it not? Including,
I think inventories are, to be honest.
Lettings and inventories are really unsexy.
I think they are. I mean, unfortunately, it's a necessary evil. So all you can do is try and make the process as seamless and easy for your clients, your letting agents and your landlords. And that's all we try and do.
And you deliver, honey. You deliver.
Thank you.
What does the future look like for
So
SCI?
I think there's a few changes on the horizon. So in terms of the inventory side of the business, you know, the world changes very, very quickly. Lettings is very fluid. There's new legislation, that kind of thing. So we're always on the lookout for new ways that we can support our letting agents and our landlords and our tenants, actually, in terms of, you know, legislation, making sure that we support them and, you know, we're collecting all the right data. But there's also going to be technological changes, I think. And so what we're looking at the moment is how inventories are going to adapt, and how inventory services are going to adapt to ever-changing technology. So that's something we're looking at the moment. In terms of growth, we're still looking at growth. We've got plenty of scope still to take on more new clients. We've taken on 2 this week, so I'm delighted with that.
Well done.
And then we're just going to keep moving forwards. So from a training perspective, we're going to keep developing the training, and then education is always important. So I've actually recently gone back to school, and I'm retraining as a property surveyor.
Well done.
So I should qualify in early 2025.
Exciting times.
So I've been doing a level 6 qualification, which is equivalent of degree. It's in association with Birmingham University, and it's in property surveying and valuation. So that's what I've been keeping myself busy doing during the last sort of 12 months.
Exciting. So that's going to be a new arm of the company.
Yeah, new arm for the business. The inventories will stay the same. That's working very, very well. I think there's things that we can add to the business, and I think property surveying is something that has become of interest to me because it expands my knowledge of properties and how they're built and that kind of thing. So it's something I'm really interested in, and I think it's going to be a new, very good arm to the business.
Well, definitely. And sorry to interrupt you, but I'm pretty sure Jane, who oversees our property inspections, she is a surveyor, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. So Jane's fabulous. I mean, she's an absolute idol of mine. She really, really is. So for those of you that don't know who Jane is, Jane works on the midterm arm of SC Inventories. She's a professional golfer, which is...
She's brilliant at golfing, isn't
brilliant,
she?
Brilliant golfer.
She has got such a character.
Yeah,
we all love her.
She's fabulous, but she is a trained surveyor. She's not a RIC surveyor currently because she doesn't renew with their membership, but she is a wealth of knowledge.
So that's the point I was getting to with the inspections. So Jane is imperative to us because she highlights things within inspections that other people or the untrained eye wouldn't pick up on. And she's been a huge support in terms of all the fire safety legislation, etc. And I do think
she's certainly an asset to the business. Absolutely an asset.
Equally, she's an asset to mine as a letting agent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in some way, when I spoke to Jane when she first came on board, you know, she was inspirational to me in terms of the surveying side, really, to expand my knowledge. I still pick the phone up to her now because there's certain things I don't know, and you know, I'll have to pick the phone and go, Jane, what do you think about this? Or if there's new legislation, we'll sit, we'll have a coffee, we'll discuss it, that kind of thing. So I do think she has been an inspiration, really, and certainly one of the trigger factors for me going back to school, almost. So
I love that.
Definitely.
I love that. It's just like amazing growth within the business and with you personally.
I mean, we've got some amazing people that work with us. You know, we've got a photographer, we've got Tim who's in an indie band. You know, there's loads of great individuals. We've got a host of mums that run around with their kids all day and then run around with inventories with us as well. So, you know, we've got a really, really good team, and the recruitment element of our business has been really, really important, and so is the training element, just to get those really good characters out doing inventory services.
Yeah, love that. You're an incredible businesswoman. You inspire me. And everyone coming on the podcast can only be people that inspire. No, there's so much value from this chat. I'm so grateful for you taking the time out. So thank you for joining me.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. I mean, I've really enjoyed it. I was a little bit nervous, as you know, but I'm very grateful for you inviting me on. And maybe I can come back when I've finished my surveying, and you know,
Definitely.
we can have another chat.
everyone listening, I'm going to tag your business so they can connect with you and see a bit more about, you know, what you guys do, because I do think you're an asset to anyone in the property industry, wherever they are in the country.
Yeah.
Do you expand beyond Dorset?
Yeah, we cover Dorset, Hampshire and parts of Wiltshire already, actually. So
I'm sure you've done bits and bobs all over.
We've done commercial jobs in London. Yeah, we will go far and wide for commercial work. In terms of residential, it's Hampshire, Dorset and parts of Wiltshire.
Well, thank you, Leanne. I'm going to tag your profile.
Thank you.
Grateful.
Thanks very much. No, thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
Bye.